It might be a yellow hydrangea, a truly black tulip, a red iris, or even a blue daffodil. The stars of this year's Chelsea Flower Show are revealed on Wednesday at 8:10 on BBC Two.
The birthday company looked so promising at the start. This is the story of big plans and how they went wrong, twice.
I've been in business for 25 years and I've been in lots of different businesses, and you know when they're going wrong.
What have they done with the £1.8 million?
Let me just finish. Let me just finish, if I could finish what I'm saying.
The autopsy of a retail disaster. Many happy returns. The first in a new series of business matters, beginning tonight, 7:30 on BBC Two.
Well, now on BBC Two we examine how the country's second largest stolen vehicle squad is cracking down on Manchester's car crooks.
Greater Manchester is really one of the busiest commercial centres in the country. There are hundreds of thousands of vehicles coming towards the city centre and in the immediate outlying districts. All those vehicles are basically targets. They are targets for the concerted, sophisticated villain who is engaged in the wholesale theft of motor vehicles. He's like a parasite waiting to pounce on the vehicle when you leave it.
So that's 2 minutes to steal a car. I actually pinch 15 a week.
Just can't get over it. Just won't win at all.
The victim of the most common crime in Britain. Auto theft is at the top of the nation's crime figures. In the northwest last year, more than £309 million worth of cars were stolen. More cars go missing in Greater Manchester than anywhere else outside London. They disappear at the rate of 1,000 a week. Highly organised professional car thieves, known as ringers, take a third of them. These gangs are experts in changing the vehicle's identity to make the car unrecognisable and untraceable. It's now reached the stage where the country's insurance companies are dealing with a new stolen car claim every minute.
The first half of last year, the industry dealt with 258,000 claims, of which we paid out £289 million for those claims.
The number of claims has almost doubled in the past 30 years and makes what some describe as the crime of the century almost pale into insignificance. In August 1963, a gang held up the London to Glasgow mail train and stole £2.5 million. It went down in history as the Great Train Robbery. Yet last year in Greater Manchester, thieves got away with £54 million worth of vehicles. That's a great train robbery every 3 weeks. Having a car stolen is a traumatic experience few victims forget, but it's only matched by those who innocently buy a vehicle only to find out it belongs to someone else. Leo O'Reilly bought a Ford Sierra 15 months ago. When he tried to retax it, the licensing authority discovered another car on the same registration number. The Greater Manchester Police Stolen Vehicle Squad have examined the car. Now Mr. O'Reilly is about to have a hard lesson on how the ringers operate.
It's 1,500, but I'll wheedle it down to 1,050.
Oh, okay. Can I just show you one or two things about the car then? First of all, as lift the bonnet up here, what immediately strikes us is that this is your VIN plate, your vehicle identification plate. The vehicle identification number is 17 digits long, and this is also stamped inside the car as well. We can see that this plate has been off. Can you see that way it's creased and the way it's going there? Yeah? You've never noticed that? No. Same with this. This is the colour code plate, and you can see there are signs that the plate has actually been off.
I see.
Yeah. You've not noticed that before?
No.
Okay. What about the engine? Did you inspect the engine at all?
No, I didn't. As I say, All I can do is drive it. Mechanically, I always leave it to the lad or take it to a garage to have it done. I don't tinker with it myself. All I do is top it with water, fluids and anything else it needs, and that's it.
Right. Can I just show you the engine number on these vehicles? It's located down there. See where the torch is there?
Oh, 21030.
Just above there, there's a flat area.
Oh, that's
which
right,
is quite. There should have a stamped-in engine number. Now, as you can see there, it's been ground off. Would that arouse your suspicions now about this car?
Well, when the vehicle inspector looked at it at work, she said it's a different colour here where it had chipped off.
Yes.
So what I thought then, well, it's been in a bump. And it must have probably damaged the engine in the front, so they put a new front on and put an engine in with it. That's what's gone through my mind.
Right. I see that you've had the windows etched.
That's right.
Haven't you? Yes. Can I just show you this then, where your X number is? Yeah. Now, can you see there where there has been an X number on there before?
Well, I never noticed that.
And the same, not on the sides, I can see your numbers, but again, on the back here. You notice that? What do you think it tells you about the car now, Mr. O'Reilly?
Something rather suspicious happening to you.
But it's only now that you've got suspicious, is it?
No,
You've never thought anything before?
Nothing, no.
Right. My friend, I have to tell you that this is a stolen car.
Oh, no. So I've lost out?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. This car belongs to somebody else. It was stolen from Stoke in 1991, a short time before you bought it. The person in Stoke has been paid out by the insurance company, and this car now belongs to the insurance company.
The Sierra had been stolen a month before Mr. O'Reilly bought it. The registration plates, engine and chassis numbers had been changed. As the car now belongs to an insurance company, Mr. O'Reilly has absolutely no legal claim to it. So if he wants to keep it, he'll have to see if the insurers want to sell it, then negotiate a price. And he's lost the money he paid out originally.
No.
Well, it looks to me as though I'm going to be either a total loser or have to rebuy the car again from an insurance company, which I'll have paid for it twice, won't I? You know, why should a normal person like myself be the sufferer for things like this when there's idiots out there who can just carry on and do this and just sort the ordinary working man?
Leo O'Reilly becomes the latest victim of a multi-million-pound alternative motor trade, theft on a grand scale. To put it in proportion, the equivalent of the cars on one floor of this multi-storey park will be stolen in the Manchester area every day, and the number taken in a week would almost fill the block. One in 3 of the stolen cars will never be seen again. Last year, Greater Manchester Police recovered 40,000 vehicles, but another 17,000 vanished without trace. At the headquarters of Manchester's Stolen Vehicle Squad, the largest outside London, they know they're up against a highly organised and sophisticated network of criminals.
OK, Dave, well, you've been out this morning. Where have we got up to?
We've identified the premises which are involved in, we believe, the ringing of commercial vehicles. But we're going to encounter a few problems with the observation point. The nearest that we can identify is about 100 yards away and would involve us liaising with colleagues in other forces, i.e. the British Transport Police, to enable us to undertake ops. The information's good, we just think the job needs firming up a little bit. What we want to do is identify the main players, the people involved, and I think it'd be worthwhile 2 or 3 days of observations on the garage just to do just that, to identify the main players behind the garage and visitors and so on and so forth.
The people that we deal with are always in the game of motor vehicle theft because it's so lucrative and they have to have expertise. They generally are very, very good at what they do. The concerted criminal gradually comes through the ranks, just like you would do as an apprentice, either as a journalist or a doctor or a nurse. He does exactly the same. he starts stealing cars, joyriding cars, or grief riding as we like to call it in this area, he will graduate from that to the concerted criminal, and he will learn all the way along the road until he develops a system that makes him very, very good and almost uncatchable. That's his objective in life, is not to be caught. My objective in life is to catch them.
The first link in this organised criminal chain is the young car thief. This one's identity is protected because he says he could be beaten up for speaking to us.
You're learning to know the streets, you're getting to know where you are, you're looking at the cars, you know what I mean? A certain person, yeah, will come up to you and he will order a car off you. He'll tell you what car he wants, what registration, where he wants it dropping off. So you'll go out, get the car what the guy's ordered, you go to the place where you're going to drop it off, and he'll give you the money there and then for it.
Now comes the ringing, changing the identity of a stolen vehicle. It's driven to a workshop where it can be disguised. Although much of the work will be done with professional skill, there are usually indications that the identity marks have been changed. The registration plates are replaced. The ringers then remove the vehicle identification number, which is put on every car by the manufacturers before leaving the assembly line. Other identity markings on the engine and bodywork are also ground down. In some cases, these numbers are replaced with new chassis and engine numbers from the same model of car that's been written off for scrap. The stolen car is now ready to be sold to an unsuspecting victim, who's unlikely to look under the bonnet to see if any of the numbers have been obviously changed. Scrapyards are the most common places where thieves can acquire a new identity for a stolen car. It's a perfectly legal source and provides rich pickings. This compressed block of metal used to be a £12,500 car. In its present form, it's worth less than £25. But a thief would pay up to £2,000 just to get the identity plates and registration document or logbook. These can be switched to the same model of stolen car to give it what appears to be a legitimate identity.
This is the frustrating part about our job, is how do we identify what vehicles have been scrapped? How do we take them off the road? How do we destroy the documentation?
The ghosts of thousands of wrecked vehicles are illegally finding their way back onto the market because their documents haven't been returned to the licensing authority in Swansea, the DVLA. If the documents of all scrapped vehicles were returned to the DVLA, any attempt to resurrect a non-existent car would be spotted when anyone applied for the documents. The police believe this would stop a lot of organised auto theft.
I think it's absolutely essential that we take every possible step to ensure that any person who has a vehicle that has been scrapped, that they should notify the authorities. That's the government authorities in relation to the licensing, the DVLA, and the police, to say that this vehicle will never ever be put back onto the road again, and to return the documentation in relation to that vehicle back to the DVLA so that the records can be updated to say that that vehicle is finished.
The DVLA are aware that ringers use the registration system to disguise stolen vehicles. They're beginning to look at ways of tightening it up.
What we're actually trying to aim at is to arrive at a situation where a vehicle has been notified as being unrepairable. We can freeze the record to indicate that it is scrapped or it is only scrap quality. And that will then, any applications for any documentation coming in afterwards will not work. Alarm bells will ring and we will be able to tip off the police that, you know, here is a suspicious circumstance. Somebody's trying to register a vehicle that shouldn't be on the road. And I think that will actually make life a little more difficult for the car ringer.
welcome to yet another Saturday Walker Roadshow, Radio City Gold out on the road. My name's Terry Linane, this is Simon. Between now and around about 11 o'clock this evening, we'll be playing some tunes, we'll be making you remember how old you are. We would like you to...
It's Friday night, a favourite target night for the criminal. For many, it's the end of the working week, a chance to relax, to go out with friends and have a good time. That's when the criminal is most likely to strike. It's a perfect time for the car thief, no matter whether they're stealing or selling. In the main, they depend on most second-hand car buyers being in the dark with their knowledge of vehicles, or attracted by a carefully created illusion of a bargain.
Tune, if you don't mind, please, Simon. Let's go to 1967 on the next one. First release, first big hit. They took it to #1. This is The Foundations, baby, Now That I've Found You.
Simon Nasri thought he'd got a good deal when he bought a second-hand car for £950. He needs it to carry disco equipment to pubs at weekends, but his bargain could have been a death trap.
About 3 weeks ago, I needed the car servicing, and what the garage fella said, he said, I've got some bad news for you.
Simon is the victim of another sophisticated way of changing a car's identity. The garage discovered it was really two cars welded together, what's known as cut and shut. It can be an entirely legitimate repair, but if performed by criminals only interested in quick profit, it could be extremely dangerous. Simon had travelled 2,000 miles before he found out what he'd been driving.
It's been stitched up. That's all I was told. It's two cars in one. What it is it's been involved in a bad accident, a bad crash. Someone gone into the back of it, and what they've done is they've sawn off the back panel, taken that out, got a back panel from another car, and welded that together. Just welded it together, put a bit of filler in it, sprayed it over, and sold it.
Our engineers are picking up one of these types of vehicles once every 6 months. Now we have approximately 90 engineers countrywide, so that gives you some rough idea of what the ones we're finding. Having said that, there must be hundreds of these types of vehicles on the road. We are seeing a very small proportion of them, I'm sure.
The AA are so concerned that to highlight the problem, they bought a car they were inspecting on behalf of a customer.
We found that the car was two halves put together. In fact, the only part of the GTI that it pretends to be is the back end. The front end is an 1100, standard 1100 vehicle. We found, on inspection, non-standard cuts in the roof pillar here. And looking further on inside the car, there are cuts along the floor area that are non-standard as well. This is where the car has been joined. When the inspector got under the bonnet area, he discovered that there had been some tampering with the chassis plate area. And as you can see, this chassis plate here had actually been welded over the original. Now obviously that's been done to disguise the fact that this has probably been two crash wrecks put together. Had this vehicle been involved in another accident, it could have been highly dangerous. It could literally fall apart.
This could have happened at any time if it bumped into anything solid, no matter how slow the speed. Cars like this have claimed lives in the past.
Can I help you?
Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to hand in this application, please.
Has the vehicle ever been registered before?
No, it hasn't.
All right. If it's never been registered, what we'll have to do is have it inspected by one of our inquiry officers. We will need receipts and any other...
The local vehicle registration office is another avenue where cars are legitimately given new identities. It's here that cars which have been rebuilt from new or second-hand parts must be registered. After inspection, if the car's age is unclear, it's given a Q plate. But some fake rebuilds are slipping through the system. There's evidence the thieves are removing all identifying numbers and telling the LVRO they've rebuilt them.
Although our inquiry officers are able to do an examination of the vehicle, it is purely a superficial examination looking for certain things. We don't have the facilities because most inspections are carried out on the applicant's premises, and we don't have the chemicals and expertise to do a more thorough, detailed examination, which might mean putting a vehicle on a ramp or using chemicals to remove old paint, and therefore we need the support of the local police, and we get it. There is always the possibility that some vehicles will get through the net.
It is very, very difficult for them to be able to say, we think it's a stolen vehicle. And the difficulty is because they're not trained up to look at the vehicle in that depth to be able to identify it. I have the facilities to do that. My officers can do it. But collectively, if everybody came to us with all the vehicular problems, we would be absolutely swamped, and I would not have the resources to deal with it. So I have to be very selective in everything that I do.
Six o'clock in the morning, and the result of months of careful and detailed planning are about to be put to the test. An operational briefing before the Stolen Vehicles Squad raid premises where they suspect stolen cars are being handled. In Greater Manchester in the last 2 years, 69 major operations like this have led to £6 million worth of vehicles being recovered and the conviction of 405 target criminals.
Anything else we need?
We basically try to do our best with it, to get the top people and work our way through them until we can root out the garages and root out the premises that they use and forewarn all the others that are doing it that we're on our way. It's an absolute war because on the one hand they know that we exist as a stolen vehicles squad. They know that we're very, very good at our job, and they know that we're not far behind them.
It's a war in which the victories can be spectacular. In a raid on a derelict mill in Manchester, the Stolen Vehicles Squad broke up a 6-year operation in which a gang had stolen at least £4 million worth of lorries. The police uncovered a highly efficient operation. Stolen lorries were driven in one end of the cavernous mill. They came out the other end in skips, chopped up as extremely lucrative spares and scrap metal. All that detectives found were small bits and pieces from 58 vehicles. It took months to trace the original owners. The 4-man gang was sent to prison for a total of 8 years. It's the sheer scale of organised vehicle theft that's causing the greatest concern.
It is a massive problem that has got to be tackled. And the only way to tackle it is with resources, experienced detectives, dedicated officers who know what they're doing when they investigate major autocrime. All the officers, they are all stretched to the elastic limit.
It seems the problem will always be bigger than the resources to tackle it. Greater Manchester Police want to increase the size of the Stolen Vehicles Squad, but there are competing priorities in the battle against crime. In the rural areas, auto theft doesn't have the same vast, sophisticated organisation as in the cities. Derbyshire Police have only 2 full-time officers in their Stolen Vehicles Squad.
Manpower problems obviously arise, but it's a problem throughout the police forces in all of the country. Only this week our Chief Constable requested a further 110 police officers at the police committee meeting. Within our force, as with most forces, one must prioritise with what manpower one has. I obviously prioritise vehicle crime. I would like to see more officers put on it. We have a number of officers throughout the county that are stolen vehicle investigators, have been trained as such by the Metropolitan Police. They can be called on, and indeed are called on, to deal with vehicle crime, but at the end of the day, they too have their roles throughout the county.
Wherever Roy Potts goes in the county, his expertise always seems to be in immediate demand.
We've been asked to look at this motorcycle engine. It's been recovered locally in dubious circumstances. It's a water-cooled Kawasaki engine. It's obviously been stood a fair while from the dust on the aluminium. In this area here, this would have been the location of the engine stamped identity number. It would have been on a small casting here of about 12 digits, and obviously this area has been broken off solely to deter anyone identifying where this engine's come from, and as such it's obviously no doubt a stolen engine.
He hardly has time to start an investigation before there's another call. His next job is to examine what may be a stolen vehicle. It means another journey, this time to the other end of the county.
One of the problems you encounter doing this work is that you never have the time to follow the case up that you're involved with. In respect of that motorcycle engine there that I've just examined, it's obviously going to be a stolen engine. It requires further inquiries. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to get involved in those inquiries, so I will have to tell the officer in the case what inquiries to make and literally how to make them. Nowadays, we're finding that literally anybody is operating from anywhere that they can rent premises from. In some cases now, they're operating from farmers' barns. Obviously the recession in the farming industry, if a farmer can rent his barn to a man for whatever reason, he's quite happy. And we're now finding that car thieves are operating out of such premises.
The increasing number of professional gangs means a bigger supply of stolen cars and a bigger market, not just in this country. A growing number of those missing cars are being exported abroad. Every 15 minutes a car is stolen in Britain and taken onto the continent. Insurance companies estimate 30,000 of them disappear abroad every year. And Britain is the single biggest contributor to this illicit export trade. The Manchester squad has had some success in tackling this international operation.
The operation which we investigated last year was a team of highly organised criminals. The way they worked was to steal high-performance motor cars from the Manchester region, change their identity only slightly, and then simply hide them inside containers. They were then simply shipped over to the Caribbean and used as currency for the purchase of controlled drugs, which then came back to Manchester. We know for sure that they had succeeded in that operation twice, and on the third occasion our intelligence system was strong enough that we were able to intercept what they were doing.
The high-speed container handling provides a fast, efficient and, above all, anonymous method of overseas shipment. This base alone handles around 300 containers a day, most of them loaded at the client's own premises. So how do the authorities know what's inside?
We would probably check, say, 1 to 2 per day. Either a container or one consignment of goods in a container. What the officers are aiming to do is to highlight through the use of intelligence the consignments which present the most risk and to do an in-depth examination of those consignments rather than just basically look inside 200 containers a day, for which basically they probably would not find anything. Our main controls on exports are dealt with strategic licensing and the UN sanctions on Yugoslavia and Iraq, and also the movement of high technology goods or high value antiques. Car theft is really within the police province, and it's up to them once they have the intelligence to approach us so that we can give them the proper help in order to identify these cars.
It's feared that Europe's free market initiatives will soon bring a new perspective to the international trade in stolen cars.
There is a distinct possibility, particularly with the relaxation of border controls, that this situation will develop quite rapidly at the end of this year. At the moment you can cross over the Channel area by ferry, but of course when the Channel Tunnel opens you can literally drive a vehicle from here and take it as far away as the Far East, and that can be done in a matter of hours. And it is a frightening prospect when you consider the flow of traffic and the increase in traffic generally. But when the sophisticated criminals make themselves aware of the markets elsewhere, certainly the international markets, then the world's their oyster, really.
What everyone associated with car crime knows is that there'll always be someone wanting a bargain, even if it means buying a car they can hardly see at night in a dimly lit street from someone they've never met before or are likely to see again.
You're selling it. How much is it?
3.5.
3,500. 100.
It's the average motorist's complete lack of knowledge which not only allows but encourages the Great Car Robbery.